Hello, Ken Berengen with the National Association of Black and White Men Together. The policies that we have as an association and how that's reflected in the news and the news around today and maybe beyond is the rewriting history of racism in the US and elsewhere. So, the administration is trying to impose a new portrait of America that is without flaws. At the Liberty Bell, the giant redwoods of Muir Woods in California, and especially in the Smithsonian Institution. Last month, a label that mentioned that President Trump had been impeached twice disappeared from an exhibit of the presidency, while the impeachment of Andrew Jackson and Bill Clinton are still included at the Smithsonian. This seems to be an effort to rewrite history in its official museums and cultural artifacts. In this new narrative, there can be no arguments about oppression by race, or gender, or ethnicity, or even sexuality, or economic class. The administration then applies these designs because no such oppression will be acknowledged in the official history, which can only be history that's uplifting, according to them. In March, Trump signed an executive order accusing the institution of coming under the influence of, quote, divisive, race centered ideology that portrays America and its values as harmful and oppressive. The Smithsonian said the references to the Trump impeachment were removed as a part of a review of the institution's content for bias. One prominent artist, for example, because of this, has refused to exhibit her works at the Portrait Gallery after it balked showing the wildly popular official portrait of Michelle Obama. Also, there are other targets. Example, a display about Dorothy's ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. Mention the Depression and the coming World War. That's a target. Also, a label on two Star Wars droids noting the nation needed, quote, new hope after the Vietnam War and Watergate. Then there's Mickey Mouse's original blackface appearance. Already dutiful Park Service employees have flagged signs of the Independence National Historic Park in Philadelphia depicting the abuse of fugitive slaves. The Park Service is restoring a statue of the Confederate general in Washington that was torn down and burned during the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020. And unsurprisingly, the the museums finally told the truth about American history when we thought they wouldn't, and they can't quite decide. They're supposed to decide who suffered and who suffered in an unsparing way of showing them. More of it might help new generations confront the reality of their past and present further injustices. American shame is precisely what the government is trying to prevent, particularly over racial issues. For now, the White House has no direct leverage over private museums. Two in New York are presenting exhibitions that repudiate the Trumpian notion that art must be upheld in an officially approved narrative. Blacklisted, an American story at the New York Historical, is a sharp reminder of the cost to society when the government decides to crack down on a disfavored ideology and wind up undermining the freedom to speak, as it did during the Red Scare, for example, beginning in our country in 1947. Also, remember when most Hollywood studios and television networks complied with the demands of the red baiters and refused to push back, just as the Smithsonian appears to be doing now. Art can only be effective as illuminating and healing if it is unconstrained by authority. Nonconformity is the basic precondition of art, as it is the precondition of good thinking and therefore of growth and greatness in a people. The degree of nonconformity present and tolerated in a society might be looked upon as a symbol of its state of health. Remember, at our organization, our objective, our education, our outreach is look at racism and homophobia, and this is a classic example of where racism appears at our national museums and elsewhere. Be alert, be on the lookout for things like this and protest. This is Kim Barron. You can visit us at nabwmt.org. We're on Facebook, on other platforms as well. I appreciate your listening. Please subscribe.